Welcome back to Kiesel News, everybody. To start today off, we have news that Jennifer Lawrence is going to star in a murder mystery movie that is similar to Real Housewives. Look, I don't care what you say, this is a fucking genius premise right here. Whoever came up with this deserves a raise tenfold, man. Like, Housewives, all it is women wanting to kill each other in a mansion. You could basically make a Knives Out movie out of this. They go to a mansion and boom, one of the rich ladies is dead. Which one of the other rich ladies did it? Find out next time on Housewives Ball Z. It's a perfect premise. And as for Jennifer Lawrence being involved, it definitely aligns with her current career, I would say. I mean, after her performance in No Hard Feelings, this definitely seems like a project that she would attach herself to. I mean, she basically played a MILF in No Hard Feelings, and now she's probably just going to play a MILF in this. I mean, housewives aren't really MILFs. They're moms I wouldn't want to fuck. Or a lot of them probably aren't even moms. A lot of them are probably just washed up rich bitches, right? But wouldn't put it past a lot of them to abandon their kids. I mean, I've seen some of the shows. Who hasn't, right? And a lot of them do seem like alright moms. But there's definitely some that I could see leaving their children not just fatherless, but motherless as well. DC is coming out with a new series being Kite Man, and honestly, it sounds pretty interesting. For one, it's animated, which is more interesting than yet another live-action project, I would say. And Kite Man actually sounds like an interesting character. For one, he's a villain. When's the last time Marvel has done a villain-centric project? Loki's the only one that comes to mind, right? So I think that this is a good step in the right direction for DC. Overall, when James Gunn announced Chapter 1, it gave me a lot of hope, as for one, the DC now had some actual structure, and two, the projects were looking to be of multiple different genres and just very diverse, as opposed to what Marvel is currently putting out right now, where every project feels the exact same, unfortunately. It sucks because I was really hyped for Phase 5 and 6. Every project originally seemed super unique. Going from something like Echo to Agatha, right? Very, very different projects. But despite that, I'm sure Agatha will just feel very similar to all the other projects that we've had. To be fair, Echo did look decent, especially with it having the Marvel Spotlight branding and everything. But overall, I just think DC is doing better right now, and I might actually get into the DC universe once it starts. My grade 5 self would be kicking himself right now, as I was an adamant DC hater at the time, but I've changed my ways. Also, Kite Man is just such a fucking funny concept. It's good to see obscure heroes getting attention, aside from just going for their A-listers. Now, to talk about Marvel instead, Benedict Cumberbatch confirms that Avengers 5 will be filming next year. His return obviously isn't news, which is probably why he was allowed to reveal this in the first place, as everybody knows that Doctor Strange is going to be in Avengers 5. But in regards to the filming date, it's funny, as he was one of the ones that would always try and shut up someone like Tom Holland from spilling any secrets, right, back during the press of Endgame and Infinity War, and now he's dropping details. It is good to know that Marvel is this far along on development of Avengers 5, as we thought it was kind of in limbo, right, especially with John Major's firing. It makes me wonder why they haven't announced a new title yet. Maybe they're going back to Kang Dynasty. Who knows, maybe they even got John Majors back. But we don't know anything yet. And usually we seem to know about projects like 10 years in advance. I can definitely see this movie having severe reshoots, much like Doctor Strange 2 did, especially if they go into filming this quick. I just don't think they should be ready right now. Now we pivot to the third in the trio that makes superhero content, being Sony, and they are reportedly looking for their Miles Morales in live action right now. I'm sure the casting process didn't just start right now. I'm sure multiple directors and producers have been cooking up potential castings of who they want for years at this point. But I have a suggestion. How about you cast the kid who made the Lego Into the Spider-Verse videos on YouTube, right? You've already given him a whole bunch of fame and exposure. What better way to really cap it off by giving him the role? How cool would it be to come straight out of high school and be like, yeah, I got recognized by Sony, and now I'm just fucking Miles Morales, one of the top heroes in the zeitgeist right now? What are you doing, working at McDonald's? Like, it'd be so fucking cool for the kid, man. Let's make it happen. Nah, just kidding. Just cast Jaden Smith. You know you want to. Bro, imagine they cast Kai Cenat. Next up, we have another update on Megalopolis, that film starring Giancarlo Esposito and Adam Driver, and the primary story around it has been how it was essentially a big budget film that was canceled and not deemed worthy enough to be released, but then it was being released, and now the director has to pay the marketing cost all by himself. I guess this explains the sudden change in attitude, right? I mean, it was originally going from development hell, it was like banished to the depths, and then suddenly, oh yeah, it's releasing now, and it's likely because they were able to save a huge chunk of the budget by not having to pay for any of the marketing. I cannot think of another scenario where the director has had to pay the entire cost for their own movie, right? Like 15 to 20 million? Like obviously indie directors have to pay for their own projects, but none of those projects are requiring that lump sum of money. They're requiring probably like $100 because it's an indie film. I really hope this film works out for him then. I mean, I've sung countless praises of how good this movie looks. I mean, just the premise, the casting, even looking at these shots, it definitely looks like he spent a whole bunch of money on it. But I hope it doesn't backfire on him, and it probably will, due to the current landscape of movies. I'm still working on my overall Nintendo Direct Thoughts video, but I wanted to address plenty of tweets that I've been seeing on Twitter, which are people shitting on the graphics for the Donkey Kong HD remake. Like, what? How do you think it looks worse? Just look at the pictures side by side. Which one do you think looks better, the original or the new? The new obviously looks a bit more polished. Like, sure, it's not a massive upscale, but all this really is like the Luigi's Mansion 2 port. It's just slightly upscaled, meant for modern consoles. But seriously, you're out of your mind if you think the Switch version looks worse. Twitter is now only going to allow premium subscribers to live stream. Now, I don't understand this move at all. Sure, it's because they want more ways for people to want to subscribe to their premium service, right? But it'll just kill live streaming on Twitter, because how many people have premium subscriptions? And I doubt they're going to buy it for something like live streaming, when you could just go to fucking countless other platforms to do so. YouTube, Twitch, Kick, even though Kick's cancer. Fucking Mixer even. I'd rather stream on Mixer. I'd rather stream on Rumble. I'd rather stream on Instagram Live than stream on Twitter, bro. The original Fortnite map is coming back yet again in a new mode code called Reload. Now, this is great news in my opinion, as it's definitely going to bring the game back. No one has been really talking about Fortnite in the past couple weeks, as there hasn't really been a whole lot of new skins or add-ons. It's really been Multiversus killing it with all the new characters and everything. But with the OG map coming back, Fortnite has the potential to break its player record. I mean, the first time the OG map came back, it did, so who's to say it couldn't happen again? I mean, I guess the initial magic is probably worn off, but if there's anything that's going to get me back to playing Fortnite, aside from it coming back on the fucking App Store, I think that might have been what kind of made it die down a bit. But if there was a feature that they were going to add that would make me come back, it's the OG map, so I would definitely expect to see player numbers increase drastically. Now they just need to keep this mode permanently, or at least for a lot longer of a time period. I think the sweet spot would be to keep the mode for about like a month or two, and then when people start to get bored of it, take it away, and then when people start clamoring for it again, add it back. That way, you'll have long periods of huge player spikes, but you'll also still be able to get player spikes again, instead of the players staying at a constant rate, because the mode will always be there. New York signed a bill that is planning to ban addictive social media feeds for children and teens. So what this means is it's essentially like COPA with YouTube, where they got sued $170 million for collecting data on children. Now, basically, social media platforms can't collect data on children either, so this will get rid of the ability to have recommendeds or anything like that for children. And honestly, this could backfire, as I think being able to have a recommended feed is good to filter out bad content. So, for example, a kid could find a really educational video on TikTok, right? I know, what a rare concept, an educational video on TikTok. Yeah, but let's say they do, and then it goes into their feed, and then they just get more and more educational videos. Good cycle, right? Well, if you get rid of the ability to have a feed, then they could just start finding what's popular on the app, and a lot of what's popular on social media probably isn't good for young kids to see, right? So I think it will overall make their experience worse and more traumatizing. I understand the government's concern with collecting data on children, but I really don't think it's an issue here. Also, why are they just taking action now? If YouTube was sued $170 million fucking back in 2020 for collecting data, why is social media just at fault now? Lastly for today, I'd like to briefly address some of the Acolyte criticisms that have been coming out. I know they've been talked to death at this point, but I just think so many of them are ridiculous. I've been watching the Acolyte, and I'll talk more about it in my review. It's certainly not a perfect show. A lot of it is pretty boring, it's pretty slow, but the show isn't bad writing-wise, I would say. Like, we barely know anything like 4 episodes in, but there hasn't really been anything that destroys canon or destroys Star Wars, like everyone is saying. Like, people are acting like Ki-Adi-Mundi being in this show absolutely destroys everything that George Lucas created. Like, who cares that he's in this show? These same people should be jumping for joy. They love fan service, so why are they not foaming at the mouth at the mere sight of Ki-Adi-Mundi? An actual criticism of Ki-Adi-Mundi's role in the show that I've heard is that if he learns about this Sith acolyte or whatever, and how the Sith are returning during this time period, then he should have been able to warn the Jedi Council that the Sith could potentially return back during the prequels, right? But we don't know how the show goes down yet. It's not like Ki-Adi-Mundi's currently part of the Jedi Council. He's a lower-ranking Jedi, so he may not hear about whatever happens with this current Sith and what's going on. At least this is an actual criticism, though. It's a very poorly thought-out criticism, but it's a criticism. It's better than a lot of people like Nerdtrotic and whatever, who would probably complain about this tweet right here, that apparently one of the characters, who's a female, has a crush on Osha. Oh my god, how devastating. This ruined Star Wars, right guys? Like, shut the fuck up.